Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our SBA HUBZone certification webinar held in partnership with the Missouri Small Business Development Center at Missouri State University, the U.S. Small Business Administration's Kansas City District Office, and the Missouri Procurement Technical Assistance Center down here in Springfield, Missouri. My name is Crystal Irons, the director of the Missouri Small Business Development Center here at Missouri State University, and we're excited to have you join us for this program. And really want to thank the SBA Kansas City District Office for partnering with us to help us put this on and provide some valuable information to you. A few quick Zoom housekeeping items before we get started. We are recording this webinar and it will be available on our website under our webinar library. And I'll show you that website here in just a second. If you don't mind to change your Zoom screen name to your first initial and last name, or last name, somehow we can identify that you are here so we can follow up with you and make sure we get you these slides. We're happy to do that. We'll be taking questions throughout the presentation. You just type them into the chat box and I'll continue to monitor those throughout the webinar, and we'll get to as many as we can towards the end of the presentation. If you have any technical difficulty, feel free to type that into the chat as well, and somebody on our team will try to assist you. We'll be sending out a survey after this session, so please be watching for that. And we'd love to have your feedback as well as any other programs that you would like to see in the future. So to kick us off, I'm excited to share real quickly more about the Missouri SBDC program. So the Missouri SBDC provides assistance to business owners really at every stage, from feasibility and startup to growth and expansion, and even planning for a successful exit or transition. Through funding from the U.S. Small Business Administration, our team has the amazing privilege to work alongside small business owners, providing one-on-one confidential assistance to business owners at no fee to our clients. We also provide a number of training programs and a variety of topics just like this one, designed to help small businesses start, grow, and develop their workforce. Through our one-on-one assistance and training programs, we assist business owners as they develop business plans and strategies for growth. We work with clients to develop financial processes and projections in an effort to monitor performance and make informed decisions as they grow their business. And we also provide a variety of market research, helping clients ensure that they have viable marketing strategies and evaluate growth opportunities. Our center works very closely with Missouri State University's campus. So we do a lot of course projects and a variety of things like marketing, HR, feasibility studies, and that's on our website as well. And we'd love to visit with you about those if any of those are of interest to you. And then of course, we've been doing a lot of disaster recovery. So if we can help you with anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to our team. Our center here at Missouri State University does cover 16 counties throughout Southwest Missouri. We're part of a statewide and nationwide network. And here in Missouri, we're proud to partner with the University of Missouri Extension to house our Missouri SBDC program. But we have colleagues across the state. So if you're not located in our region, we are happy to connect you with a center that's closest to you as well. And then here's our contact information. You can easily schedule an appointment with anybody on our team quickly on our website. And here is our email address, as well as our website. And of course, that's where our webinar library is, that you can find this information afterward. So with that, that's a little bit about the Missouri SBDC. And I'm gonna toss it over to Ram so that he can introduce the SBA team on the call today.
Right. Well, thank you, Crystal, and good morning, everyone. And thank you, the Missouri SBDC network team, and also the PTAC for partnering with us. My name is Ram Basnet. I'm the Deputy District Director here in SBA's Kansas City District Office. We serve 28 counties in Eastern Kansas and 61 in Western Missouri. The mission of SBA is to help small businesses start, grow, expand, and recover. We help small businesses through entrepreneurial development, which consists of training and counseling, and teaching the know-how of the business basics through our resource partner network, which Crystal Irons and her team is part of. Access to capital, government guaranteed loans, government contracting and small business certifications, and also disaster recovery. Today, we're going to hear in detail about HUBZone certification from our speakers from our office, Carolina Vargas and Aubrey Salazar. We are also fortunate to have the Kansas City District Office District Director, Michael Barrera, on the call today. And I'm going to pass it on to Michael for a few remarks.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to the seminar today. We've got a great team that are going to present to you. We're so proud to work with our partners like the SBDCs, their partners, because we can't do this alone. But it's great. Our district office last year had its biggest contracting year ever. We did almost close to $1 billion in contracts just in our district. And Ron described what those areas are. And we could not do it without the different contracting programs we have. We have the 8A, but HUBZone is very, very important to us, because what's the great thing about HUBZone is that it doesn't end. You can continue to do that as long as you qualify. So, and we have a great presentation today. And I really want to thank some things that we've done to make this better. Last year, Carolina was here by herself. Actually, we got our partner this year with Aubrey Salazar, who's going to also be presenting today. So the two of them are a great team, and they're working with different offices around this area. So I'm so glad they're going to be presenting here today. But you know, we're here to do, like Ram says, a lot of things that we do here in our office. We're here to assist, and I'm so glad we're working with the Southwest Missouri today. So I got a chance to visit with them down Missouri State, and I look forward to another visit. I've really enjoyed my time down there, and look forward to visiting Springfield again. And I hope you guys have a great seminar today. Please let us know if there's anything we can do for you in the future. Thanks a lot, Ron. Thanks a lot to the team. Thanks to everybody on the call today.
All right, thank you, Director Barrera. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Aubrey Salazar, Business Development Specialist with SBA's Kansas City District Office.
Thank you, Ram, and I'm so excited to be here. My name is Aubrey Salazar. I'm a Business Development Specialist with the Kansas City District Office. I work with Carolina Vargas, who is a Business Opportunity Specialist, also with the Kansas City District Office. And I'll be taking you through a few slides today. And as our moderator said, Ms. Horton, just throw your questions in the chat as they come to you, and we'll try to get to them at the end. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen here, start this presentation. Can everyone see? Is that an affirmative? Can everyone see the PowerPoint?
Not yet.
Okay. Let's see. Can anyone see my screen at all?
No, not yet.
Okay, so let's take a look here. So I am going to hit screen, and then I'm going to hit share, and that should do it. Pardon me. How does that look?
That's good.
Okay, all right, here we go. Let's get started. What is a hub zone? A hub zone is a historically underutilized business zone. It provides federal contracting opportunities to firms as qualified hub zone small business concerns. And the reason for this program is that it increases community employment opportunities. It also stimulates capital investment, and it empowers communities through economic leveraging. It was created in 1998, and the actual act is called the 1998 HUBZone Empowerment Act. There's a link there if you want to look at the actual act in the regulations. And while it is sort of, pardon me. Well, it is sort of a long document. You would be excited to know legislators have continued to support the HUBZone program. However, it is really our own former senator, Bond, was the true creator of the program. So this really was a program created circumstances here in Missouri. In the Kansas side, you know, you're not far away from that. So really the birthplace of HUBZone Empowerment Act this area. In general, communities are designated hub zones if they have a higher than average rate of unemployment and low income, hence the economic leverage. Or
Aubrey, excuse me for interrupting, but your audio is cutting in and out.
Oh, okay. How do I?
Try and take off your video. It might help with your bandwidth. Just don't don't have your video on.
Yes. Okay. Let's try that. Sorry. Is that better, everyone? Is that better? A little bit better?
So far.
It does seem to be, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's go on. Sorry about that. So where was I? HUBZone designations. So HUBZone designations, there's 7 kinds. There's the census tract, which is part of the Census Bureau's designation. There's counties, there's Indian lands and reservations, there's disaster areas, there's base closures, there's redesignated or transitioning areas, and a brand new designation that came up in 2020 was that your own governor can appoint an area or designate an area a HUBZone area. So that's brand new. So one of the things that we, one of the things that we do to help you with finding out if you are in a designated area is the SBA has created a map tool. So there is a link to this map tool, and we'll draw that in the chat a little later so that you can figure out if your business is located in a HUBZone area. Some of the benefits for HUBZone, again, to stimulate capital investment, capacity and grow, and HUBZone set aside contract dollars. So your business as a HUBZone business will receive federal contract from contract sides, work, training, and even funding assistance. It feels good to give back to your community, and that's one of the things that this program is it infuses the community with jobs and a bustling economy. You will also have the opportunity to build and grow your business faster. So without the program, you may be looking at some growth, but with the program, you have the opportunity to participate in mentor protege programs, create joint ventures, and those contract set-asides that I just spoke of. Additional benefits are those set-asides. Aside from set-asides, subcontracting credit for prime contractors with subcontracting goals. You get a preferential consideration in the full and open competition markets. That means if a prime beat your price and you're next in line, they make a 10% adjustment so that you're now the lowest offer. You can't beat that. It's also attractive to potential large mentors. So those large businesses you want to meet and sort of partner with, you can do that with the HUBZone program. It makes you more attractive to them. And of course, HUBZone set aside is not going to interfere with any of your other certifications or bids on contracts. And now I'll throw it over to Carolina Vargas, who's going to take us through eligibility. Thanks so much.
Thanks very much, Aubrey. I'm going to try to leave my video off just to make sure that everybody can hear me okay. All right, so we're going to go talk about the eligibility requirements and from here on out. So can you click on the next slide, please? All right, so what is considered a small business for the SBA? The SBA is adheres the size standards industry that is established through the SBA, and it's defined by the next industry code, which stands for the North American Industry Classification System. And that is determined in the average of employees over the past 12 months or the average annual receipts over the past 3 years. You have to be either a sole source prop or a partnership or a corporation or any other legal form of business. You have to be operated in the United States and be in the United States and have to be for profit. Next slide. All right, can you go one before that? Thank you. So how do you determine what is the proper NAICS code for yourself? The best way for you to do is to go under the census website and kind of figure out what is going to be the most appropriate NAICS code for you. So an example is going to be construction. You could put engineering, specific engineering, electrical, or anything like that, or even admin. We have a lot of our businesses that are either janitorial or engineers. We have admin. So anything that's going to be specific to your job. And just keep in mind that this NAICS code is what's going to help you bid for this contracting government opportunities that are out there for you. Again, you can, we're going to put this website towards the end. You can visit the Census Bureau website to kind of get a more detail on what is the proper NAICS code for you. Next slide. All right, so the next question you have to ask yourself, is your business ready? Do you have what the government is looking for? Whether you're selling or you're having some type of services that you are providing. Do you have any contracting experience? Enough cash, inventory, working capital, the staffing, which is important, the materials, the reporting systems that you might have to use, and do you have existing relationships with these institutions and the contracting officers, or even contracting experience? Are you capable of fulfilling this government contract? So those are the questions you kind of have to ask yourself in order for you to be able to qualify for this. And where do I go find those contracts? So Alan is going to talk about a little bit more on the opportunities and places where you can find, but some of the places you can find these opportunities is through SAMS.gov or FedBiz, and also, you know, making those relationships with those contracting officers. Okay, next slide. So how does the government set aside money for small businesses like you? So every year, Congress sets aside about 23% of federal contracting dollars that are intended for small businesses. And that translates into about $500 billion a year that are set aside for full and open competition, small businesses set aside like you, and sole sources. Next slide. So for the set-asides certifications, they usually set aside 5% for women-owned, 5% for small businesses to include the 8A certification, 3% for the HUBZone, 3% for the small disadvantaged veteran small businesses. And these set-asides are reserved for small businesses between the micro purchase threshold and the simplified acquisition threshold, which is the $10,000 to $250,000. Each agency is a little different. So like I said, Congress sets aside at 23%, but each agency has different targets. So I could be the Air Force and I can have it set aside for HUBZone higher than that 3%, okay? Next slide. So what are the HUBZone eligibility requirements that you have to have in order for you to qualify for the HUBZone certification program? You have to have ownership at least of 51%, and you have to be a US citizen. The principal office has to be located in the HUBZone area. And one of the important things is the 35% residency. 35% of the employees have to live in the HUBZone or reside in the HUBZone area. Again, the size standard is important to understand which NICS code you're going to be operating on. And in order for you to be able to find, if you are in a HUBZone area, you're going to be going into this that map that Aubrey spoke about earlier. And then we will put that also in the chat as well. All right, next slide. Some important definitions that you have to understand when it comes to the HUBZone. What is defined as a principal office? The location where a majority of the employees physically perform the job function. It could be a warehouse, an office, even telework location. Any physical location must be accounted for on your firm location. So if you have more than one location, you have to make sure that you let the SBA know. So what is defined as an employee? Any individual that works a minimum of 40 hours. So you don't have to have a full-time employee to qualify for that, towards that 35% residency requirement. Okay, so don't look into the shade areas. Next slide. All right, so what do you need in order for you to apply for the HUBZone certification? So the first things you got to do is you have to sign the HUBZone certification signature sheet that agrees that you are going to abide by the rules. The principal office, you can provide a copy of your lease, rental agreement, or any utility records that shows that you are located in a HUBZone. The third one is going to be the residency requirement of 35%. And with that, you can provide official payroll documentation, the HUBZone maps of employees' home addresses. You have to have a valid driver's license or voter registrations cards for each employee, and the most recent state and federal unemployment tax filing report for each employee or your employee list. The fourth one is going to be the ownership and control structure. So you have to make sure you provide a copy of your birth certificate or a current U.S. passport. Articles of incorporation, copies of stock certification, certificates of good standing, LLC, all of that information that shows that you are owner and control of that firm. And then the last one is obviously the size standard verification. You have to provide at least 3 years of corporate federal tax returns, which includes schedules and attachments, and also the most recent federal personal income tax returns for all individuals that owns at least more than 20%. All right, so if you can go ahead and click to the next slide. So what is the process for you to do the HUBZone application? Again, so before you're going to apply for the HUBZone certification, make sure that you are located in that HUBZone. I mean, I cannot stress that enough. We have to make sure that you are located in the HUBZone, because I could be sitting in a HUBZone and right across the street or even next to me is not a HUBZone. So make sure that you do check that map. Also make sure that you are registered in SAMS and that you have a DUNS number and that you have the proper NICS code in order for you to qualify. Make sure that you review your application. There's a guide on our website, www.sba.gov, and you can go under contracting for the HUBZone. And there is a checklist that you can follow with all the required documentation in there as well. You also have to have a login to our general login system, which that's where you're going to be inputting the application. And also, most importantly, your documentation. You have to have verified the request information and provide all the supporting documents that you have to have. You will have 10 business days to electronically verify that data is entered online, and then you'll have an additional 10 days to upload the supporting documentation into the system. Next slide. Okay, so here's some key application instructions. Like I said, make sure that you are registered in SAMS, that you have a SAMS account, a DUNS number, that you have that general login system account, and that you apply for the HUBZone certification using that system. Make sure you also check your email. Everything that comes from the SBA will come via email confirmation. So sometimes it goes to your junk. So double check that, that junk box as well. Next slide. So once you come into the program and you are, HUBZone certified, there are recertification requirements that you have to comply with. And that goes every year, this is annual recertification. The certification you have to maintain is obviously complying with all the HUBZone requirements. You have to maintain that 35% residency of employees. You have to continue to be in a HUBZone area. So make sure that you always check in that map, because sometimes that does changes, based on the census or any of the 7 areas that Aubrey covered earlier. If you fail to recertify, the SBA will need to propose decertification to make sure that you do keep up with that certification process. Next slide. So there is a program examination every 3 years. It requires for us to go do a site visit. We don't have to announce the site visit, but because of COVID here lately, we've been announcing the visit just to make sure that everybody is okay with that. But the certification requirement, it just allows us to make sure that you are operating in a HUBZone, that you are having those 35% residency employees, and that you are complying with all of the HUBZone certification rules. Next slide. All right, so make sure that you are notifying the SBA of any type of changes. That includes change of ownership, any type of business structure change, change in the principal office, and again, falling below that 35% employee threshold. That's important. Because that is a requirement. So I will always suggest any changes to your HUBZone certification, you let the SBA know. And Aubrey is going to take us through the HUBZone eligibility examples, some of the questions that people might ask themselves, am I in a HUBZone area? Go ahead, Aubrey.
Thanks, Carolina. Okay, so let's get through some examples. And if I start to cut out again, just let me know and I'll turn off my video again. So Company Inc. is a small company that makes widgets. Their headquarters are in an urban area, but that urban area is not a HUBZone according to the map. There are 2 owners and an admin assistant, and they spend a majority of their work hours in those headquarters. But the company has a manufacturing site across the street, and that manufacturing site is in a HUBZone. And the owners and the admin all live in a HUBZone, except they work, in that headquarters, which is not in a HUBZone. There are 6 total employees, not including the 2 owners and the admin, at the manufacturing site. One of them is part-time and works only 20 hours a week. Only one of those 6 employees that works at the manufacturing site actually lives in that HUBZone. I'm going to ask, does this company meet the principal office requirement? Here's the answer to that. Yes, it does, because the 6 employees with the 2 owners and the admin assistant, that makes a total of 9 employees. Although there's only one employee that is working on the manufacturing site that actually lives in the HUBZone, the 2 owners and the admin actually live in a HUBZone. So that's 44% of your total employees that are living in a HUBZone. So, or excuse me, that principal office requirement, sorry, I jumped the gun here. The principal office requirement states that a majority of your workforce or a majority of the work being done is at a site that is in a HUBZone. Pardon me. Let's back up here. So the answer to this is, if you have a location where a majority of your employees are performing work, that location is considered the principal office. So not the headquarters. So the headquarters only has 3 people working out of it. So not a majority of the work. So, and let me back up even further. It's the majority of the employees' work that matters, and not those 3 people. So it's all about numbers. So it's about a percentage of your workforce that is a majority that is performing work in a hub zone. And I may have confused you completely, but please drop your questions in the chat on that one. I apologize. So let's move on to the other example. So this is the one about the 35% of your employees living in a hub zone requirement. So again, that company making widgets has the 2 owners and the admin support, and their headquarters is not in a hub zone. But the owners and the owners and the admin rather live in a hub zone. The other 6 employees, all but 1, do not live in a hub zone. And one of them is a part-time worker and only works 20 hours a week. And so does that meet the 35% requirement? And the answer to that is yes. And when I said 9 employees and I counted that part-time employee, it's because that requirement is 40 hours per month equals the definition of an employee in the HUBZone program. So since that part-time worker is 20 hours a week, they qualify as an employee. So we would count them in that workforce. So there you see that map. We've got the 2 admin, or the 2 owners, the admin and the 1 worker who are living in a hub zone. That's 44%, and it does meet the requirement for that 35%. Let's go on to HUBZone resources. Carolina, did you want to take this one?
Sure, I can do that.
Thanks.
So thanks, Aubrey, for that explanation. That's very helpful just to have a visual on that. So the SBA, just like Crystal explained earlier, we have resources available to you through our SBDC, our PTech. So we have, today, we're lucky to have Alan Waldo with us. That's going to be talking about a little bit more about the PTech. And what they do is help you to, and assist you with counseling and technical assistance. And the PTech does a little bit above that because it's government contracting. They will help you to get registered through exams, get your DUNS number, and work towards those certifications applications. Also help you with, how to look for opportunities through SAMS.gov and also USA Spending. Those are some of the resources available to you to look for opportunities under the HUBZone. And that really concludes our portion. So we're going to pass it on to Alan. And in the meantime, we're going to be sharing some of the websites that we discussed in our presentation.
Well, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. It's always nice to work with the SBA and the SBDC. They are great partners with us, and Aubrey and Carolina took a fairly difficult topic and hopefully got it explained pretty well to you. So it's it can be a little bit confusing, especially when you start talking about like electronic verification dates and things like that with the HUBZone. But the SBA is willing to kind of go hand in hand with you on that. Missouri PTAC, Kansas PTAC are willing to go hand in hand with you on that also. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I've got a fairly short presentation, so I'm not going to try to PowerPoint you to death with this. And I'm assuming everybody can see the screen right now. Yay?
Not yet.
Not yet. Let me try that again. Oh, here we go. Be good if I hit the right buttons. How about now? Perfect. Thank you. There we go. So Missouri PTAC, a little bit about us in general. And once again, thanks to the SBA and the SBDC for letting us join in on the presentation. Now, if I get my slides to go forward. There we go. So if you've not worked with PTAC before, and I'm seeing a lot of familiar names right now on the presentation, PTAC does stand for Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. As far as Missouri PTAC goes, we've got locations around the state of Missouri. We are in Springfield, which is my office, West Plains, Kansas City. We got a couple counselors. Columbia, we got a couple counselors. Up in the St. Louis area, we got a couple counselors. And my Springfield area goes all the way down to McDonald County, which is far southwest Missouri, all the way up to Vernon County, which is in Nevada, kind of across the state over to about Buffalo, which is Dallas County. And then I go all the way down to the Arkansas line, but I kind of shoot up Highway 44 and cover Webster County, Euclid County, and also Pulaski County, where Fort Leonard Wood's at. Being PTAC and due to our funding, we can really only help with government contracting, high-tech SBR and STTR grants. We've got partner organizations with the SBDC, so the Small Business Development Centers, and TAC, which is a Trade Adjustment Assistance Centers, which helps manufacturing companies that have seen decrease to foreign competition. We are also connected very closely with what they call APTAC, which is the Association for Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, which is a nationwide organization. And we truly work closely with a lot of federal agencies. I mean, I get quite a few referrals from GSA. I get referrals from the SBA. Obviously, I get referrals from Army Corps of Engineers, Federal Medical Center in Springfield. Thing about Missouri PTAC and the other PTACs is we are funded by a cooperative grant from the Department of Defense through the Defense Logistics Agency. And in the case of the Missouri PTAC, I'm actually employed by the University of Missouri Extension's Business Development Program. So I'm a Missouri Tiger, even though my heart also rests with Missouri State University. I got both my degrees from there. And as Missouri PTAC, and this is probably one of the most key things to keep in mind, is because we are funded by taxpayers, our professional and technical services are at no cost to our clients. And that is an extremely important distinction, because there are many, many companies out there that will charge over $600 for basic services like a SAM registration. Also on the call with us, I've got Scott Knapp, and Scott is actually with the Kansas PTAC, and Scott's a good friend and a great colleague. Kansas PTAC, in case you any are in the Kansas area, they got locations in Wichita, Overland Park, and Topeka. They pretty much give the exact mirror images of the same services that Missouri PTAC provides, and they are actually funded in part by grants through the Wichita State University, Pittsburgh State University, Go Topeka, and Johnson County Community College. And I can really brag on the Kansas PTAC. They're an excellent PTAC, and like I said, good friends and good colleagues. So what do we do? Well, we do the technical and professional services, but technical service side of it is probably more along the lines of doing the registration. So if you've got to get registered in SAM, Missouri PTAC can assist you with that. I personally probably have done 1,500 PTAC registrations. Scott's been at it a few more years than I have. He's probably done 5,000 SAM registrations. If you live in the state of Missouri and you want to sell to the state of Missouri, I'd be more than happy to help register you also in Missouri Buys, which is the portal that you must use in order to actually sell to the state government. We can help you out with all the socioeconomic certifications. So obviously the topic today is HUBZone, but we can help you out with becoming a woman-owned business or an economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business. We can help you out becoming an 8A business. And even though it's just a check mark, we can help determine if you're a small disadvantaged business or not. We can't assist with the HUBZone application. We can assist with what's called the Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Small Business application, or a veteran-owned small business through the VA. And then we can also help, like kind of a little bit more federal and locally. DBE stands for Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, and that's both a state of Missouri and also a federal designation. Basically, mainly thinking along the lines of like the highway department. But you could also become a WBE, which is a woman business enterprise, a MBE, which is a minority business enterprise, or an SDVE, which is a service disabled veteran enterprise. And those are all, like I say, state of Missouri. If you've got a company that may not be ready for contracting yet, we can really give you some brutal honesty when needed. But what our goal would be if we need to do that is say, if you really want to become a federal contractor or a state contractor, here are the steps and recommendations that we would make for you to get ready, get contract ready. We can help you out with marketing. A lot of people think that once you've gotten registered in SAM, that it's all magic and the federal government comes crawling to you and starts buying your product. And I can tell you right now, that is definitely not the case. So we can help you figure out, target which agencies or maybe even which buying offices you need to be targeting with your services or your products that you're selling. We can help you out with what's called a capability statement, which is a 1 or 2 page basic called a resume of your company with various different parts on it, including like past performance. If there are past purchases for whatever it is that you're selling, sometimes it's a little bit like a needle in a haystack, but if the information exists out there, we can hopefully find what the government has paid in the past for similar purchases such as yours. We can help you out with what's called GSA, which is General Services Administration. We can help you out with GSA schedules. We can help you out with some interpretations of the FAR, which stands for Federal Acquisition Regulations. We can help you out with getting your product into what they call the Defense Logistics Agency, or the DLA. When I always describe that as being, if you've ever saw the movie Indiana Jones, at the very end, where they've got the Ark of the Covenant going into that huge warehouse, as it panned out in the last image of the movie, the warehouse kept getting bigger and bigger. To me, that's probably the DLA. We can help you out with bid. We've got a bid match service, so you can find out maybe opportunities to bid on. We can help you out with education. We can help you take a look at a solicitation and say, hey, this is the work we think you need to do in order to get the solicitation, or we think you may qualify or don't qualify. And I've got et cetera down there, because that list is definitely not all inclusive. So basic registrations. From our standpoint, SAM, which is the System for Award Management. Once again, I recognize quite a few of y'all's names on the presentation today, and I realize I've got some clients on here, and you all are registered in SAM. But also, if you're not registered in Missouri BIAS, we can assist with that. And then do a little bit of research over the last couple of days. I see that the state of Kansas has a supplier portal called eSupplier. I've not personally done that before. I'm sure Scott has. But if you're a Missouri company wanting to sell to Kansas, it might be kind of fun for us to get registered in the eSupplier, see how that registration goes. Socioeconomic certifications, it's been talked about. The SBA had a great slide on this too, but it also talks about the different levels that the federal government will buy from. So you got the woman-owned small business at 5%. You got the small disadvantaged business, which is basically a minority-owned business, at 5%. We've got service-disabled veteran-owned small business at 3%, and then the HUBZone is 3%. And of the different certifications on here, the one that the federal government typically does not meet on a yearly basis is a HUBZone one. They've got the goal set at 3%. Over the last couple of years, it's been running somewhere between about 2.6 to about 2.8%. Now that 0.3% that they're falling short on may not sound like a whole lot of money, but when you take $650 billion, take it by the 23% that's being awarded to small businesses. I'm not real good at the math on that thing, but I'm going to say that that's probably potentially over $1 billion being left on the table for HUBZone businesses. So in order to get certified, and I'm not going to go over the HUBZone rules because they did an excellent job in the HUBZone rules, but in order to get certified per se as a woman-owned small business or a service-disabled veteran-owned small business, you've got to be small as defined by your primary NAICS code. You've got to be at least 51% unconditionally owned by the eligible owner or owners who are U.S. citizens. The owners that have at least the 51% have got to also have strategic and day-to-day control over the business. I mean, they've got to be able to make all decisions, and it cannot be a case where somebody can say, no, you can't do this. I've had situations before where I had a physicians call me up one day, and there was 3 doctors in the group. 2 of them were service-disabled vets. 1 was not a service-disabled vet. They wanted to get certified in order to start selling their services to the VA. First question out of my mind is, can the non-veteran control where you all go as far as where you're given health care? And they said, absolutely. We will never make a decision to go work at a hospital without getting the non-veteran involved. And I said, then you cannot become a service-disabled veteran-owned small business, because a non-veteran can actually help control where you're heading. You've got to have documents that prove this fact. Obviously, this list is not all inclusive. The one that seems to be always a big sticking point and probably gets reviewed more than anything else is what's called an operating agreement for the LLC. It is amazing to me the number of folks I talk to that have LLCs have not heard of an operating agreement. It's kind of like a corporate bylaw document, though, that truly outlines who has control of the business, who can make the decisions of the business. It also gives some legal protection. So you can kind of see what the document information that's needed there on that slide. So they'd also mentioned some of the major sites to find solicitations. 2 of the major ones that at least in my mind that come is the sam.gov. Up to about a year ago, you used to go to fbo.gov, so Federal Business Opportunities. The federal government decided to put everything under one roof or one umbrella, which is sam.gov. Then for the state of Missouri, you got Missouri BIAS, but there's also sites like Unison that's usually for a little bit smaller, more material type purchases. There are numerous. City of Springfield's got a site. Missouri State University's got a site. Missouri Southern State University's got a site. Mizzou's got a site that goes through Missouri BIAS. So there are numerous sites out there where you can find solicitations to bid on. But the 2 big ones, at least from my thought at this point, would be sam.gov and then the state of Missouri. So the question is, should I become a government contractor? This was also asked by the SBA, do you truly sell what the government buys? And the government literally buys just about everything, with some exceptions. I'm not going to go into the exceptions today, but if you ever take a basics course, we can talk a little bit more about the exceptions, and or my email will be at the end of this presentation, and feel free to reach out to me via email. Usually we're looking for a little bit of longevity in the business. 2+ years, there's not a firm, fast rule that says you've got to be in business for 2 years in order to sell to the government. But knowing that contracting officers are generally very risk adverse, they'd like to deal with businesses that they know will be here another year from now. Before diving into the government marketplace, take a really honest assessment of your business. Are you really, truly, do you have good past performance? Do you got financial statements that don't show you're losing money on a yearly basis? If you're a construction company, do you have the right bonding levels? Do you really have the capabilities to become a government contractor? Keep in mind that there are a lot more rules and regulations in the government market. In the commercial market, your contract can just be canceled. In the government market, if your contract is canceled and you lied somehow on your SAM registration, you can have civil liability and possibly criminal liability, which is not a place you want to be. And what type of reputation you have as a business. So if I did a quick website search on your business, would there be good things out there about you, or would there be bad things out there about you? Know your cost. It's amazing to me, people that will bid on a contract, they have no idea what it costs them to produce that service. You obviously never want to sell something that costs you more money than you're actually getting back as far as your revenue. If you're doing some type of a service or a construction type contract, you've got to be willing to pay prevailing wages. At a minimum. A lot of people are already paying above prevailing wages, but do not ever bid a job that's a prevailing wage job and say, I'm typically just paying my folks $15 an hour, and find out the prevailing wages are $25 an hour, because all of a sudden your payroll's gone up, but your revenue stream has not. Look for subcontracting opportunities. It's a really, really great way to gain experience. I know a lot of federal contractors that the very first contracts they've ever had was through subcontracting opportunities. Many times you got to have access to American-made products. Computer security needs to come in mind, what's called the CMMC. So many other considerations you've got to take in mind if you want to become a government contractor. So what are your next steps should be? I would recommend you become a Missouri or Kansas PTAC client. Or if you're not in Kansas or Missouri, if you go to the PTAC website, you can actually locate the local PTAC offices in your state. Educate yourself what you're doing today. Missouri PTAC offers govology courses for our clients. It's about 150 different courses you can take on federal contracting, but there's so many other educational offerings such as what we're doing today. Take advantage of the SBDCs and the SBA's educational offerings. I probably should put SCORE on here too, which is the Service Corps Retired Executives. Webinars, lots of webinars that are out there that you can take, including a lot of PTAC counselors. And there's a couple of my PTAC colleagues here in Missouri that offer basics and contracting courses on a monthly basis. Look for working with partner organizations such as the SBDC, registered in SAM, Missouri Buys, Kansas E-Supplier. But I'm going to refer you back to the very first bullet point again, become a Missouri, Kansas PTAC person before you do that. When you're actually registering SAM, assuming that the site is working, you can actually get registered what's called the SBA's Dynamic Small Business Search. And if you're eligible, I'd always kind of recommend that you consider getting a socioeconomic registration or a certification of some type. So that is me. That is my contact information. I'm located in downtown Springfield. The very best way to get in touch with me is through my email address, which is Waldo. So like, where's Waldo? But Waldo, WALDOAJ at Missouri.edu. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right. Thank you, Alan.
You're welcome.
There is a lot of information in the chat. Don't feel like you have to hurry up and copy all of that. I am doing that at the moment. And so I will make sure and send out an email to everyone on the call with all of the links that were provided throughout the presentation. I'm wading through here and I don't see any questions per se. So if anybody has any questions for the SBA team, SBDC, my team, or Alan with PTAC and the Kansas PTAC, please feel free to throw those in the chat and I will moderate that for you guys. Give you guys a few minutes here. Alan, your email. Can you put that in the chat?
I can do that.
And then I will also send out the email Alan's email address in the email that I send out to you all.
And Crystal, we are going to share the slides today. Is that right?
Yes.
Perfect. I've got to tweak mine up a tad bit before I send them to you. But does anybody, I mean, do we have time to just open up and if somebody wants to ask a question out loud instead of just typing?
Sure.
One question they probably would have is, how long does it take for the process? It takes about 60 days to complete the submission for the HUBZone certification. And with like any of the other certifications, you have to have at least 2 years minimum requirement. But for the HUBZone, you do not have to have a requirement on how many years you've been in business. Any other questions?
One of the nice things, and this kind of came up in a separate chat I was having with somebody else, unlike a lot of the other certifications, there are no income requirements on this one as far as an individual owner, where if you're applying, for example, to become an economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business or a small disadvantaged business or 8A, there are economic considerations for the owners. So, for example, the owners got to make less than $350,000 per year on a 3-year average basis. Total assets, I believe, are $6 million off the top of my head, and then total assets minus the value they have in the business, minus the value that of their untouchable retirement plans, and minus the equity in their home is going to be $750,000 below. But being a HUBZone business, I mean, you can have a fairly wealthy owner that could still apply for HUBZone. So that's an advantage to keep in mind too. It's just the key thing is that the business has got to be small under the primary NAICS code. So.
And I can also add, Alan, the SBDC and the PTech do a great job doing counseling and technical assistance and helping you with all of the contracting or per se anything within the business. But the SBA also does have what is called a 7J Management and Technical Assistance Program. Those are some courses that you can take on your on your own time. Some of these classes are interactive, and it can help you kind of tackle how you're going to be approaching these contracting officers and helping you how to understand your financials. Some people don't even know how to put an assets or liability statement together. So those are things that can help you how to put a capability statement together. It's kind of a resume, it's a one-page resume that you're going to be presenting to these contracting officers. Make sure that you have enough information about the company, that you're putting enough, all of your NAICS codes that you're operating under. So those are important things that you need to, kind of look into. And that's where Alan comes in and the SBDC comes into play to help you put these things together. Abby, do you have anything else to add? I don't see any other questions.
I just, Alan, what would you say accounts for the low participation? When you say $1 billion is left, do you see in your line of work something that people overlook in considering the program, or maybe, they've, haven't thought it through, or, yeah.
Probably two things. Number one, I think, well, a couple of things maybe. Number one, maybe the lack of understanding of the program. Number two, I probably should say it's just SBA Unlimited. It can be a pain, a little bit of a pain to apply for. I mean, I don't know a better way to put it. It can be a little difficult to sometimes apply for it. There has been times that some of the reviewers at the DC level can be pretty particular about things, which I don't blame them. But once in a while, I've even shook my head and say, well, I don't understand that one, which could be part of it too. And number three, it just may just be the total lack of businesses having the right number of employees that are actually living within that 35% in the HUBZone. So that's probably one of the issues too. In fact, that's probably the biggest issue. And at one point, the HUBZone map kind of kept switching back and forth on a monthly basis. Now it's being kind of held steady for like a five year issue for 5 years. I think the issue before is you do all this work to become HUBZone certified, and all of a sudden the map would change right before you submitted the application, and wham, you've gone from 37% down to 30% that are in the HUBZone. So yeah, I think there's a couple different things there. So and I apologize, I wasn't meaning to pick on the SBA there, but there's once in a while I've seen something that's made me kind of shake my head saying, really? So yeah, but that's part of the reason why PTAC's here. And also the SBA has done a wonderful job too on, they now have like a call in twice a week. I'm trying to remember Central Standard Time. I think it's either 12 to 1 or 1 to 2 Central Standard Time on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And basically the HUBZone reviewers are there that you can ask specific questions to. I think that's been a huge help on the SBA's part. So, yep. Yep.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks for that great response. No, yep. I don't feel picked on at all. I wanted people on the call to understand, you know, maybe they don't have to meet with the same, you know, so that they can get over those challenges. Yeah.
Right. Well, good. I didn't want to pick on anybody. I'd have felt guilt.
All right. Well, seeing no other questions, again, we really appreciate everybody taking the time to hop on this call with us. Another huge thank you to the U.S. Small Business Administration's Kansas City District Office, and to Alan Waldo with Missouri PTAC. And I know my team's on here from the Missouri Small Business Development Center here at Missouri State. If any of us can be of assistance to you as you start and grow your businesses, please don't hesitate to reach out, and you will get an email from me. It may be first thing tomorrow morning before I can collect everybody's slides, but I will send out an email to everybody with the links in the chat, as well as the slides that we went over today.
Well, thanks very much, Crystal. We appreciate the invite, and hope everyone has a good day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. That's a great presentation.
Thanks.
Good day, everyone.